Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking health, digestion, getting you back on track. And the way we're going to be doing it is with Ayurvedic type of medicine, mentality, and lifestyle. This practice is going to be something that is going to become a lifestyle for you. There are so many trends in the world. You can do this diet, you can do this fad. I know keto is really big still. I don't even know all of the fad diets. Oh, carnivore is also one of them. People would just eat a certain amount of food. Now, not saying that these diets are not effective, but what tends to happen with these diets is that they're not sustainable. People don't do things that are going to be in accordance to who they are. Not only what their body wants, but what does your mind want? Sometimes we think that, oh, we're going to do this for so long and then we're going to stop. But when is that stopping point? When you don't feel like doing it anymore? There's this part of the brain, right? This amygdala, whatever. I forget the full name. I'll find it. Maybe I'll paste it in. This part of the brain is going to be linked with when you do the things that you don't want to do. For example, it only happens when you don't want to do something. If I don't want to go to the gym, let's say on Monday, I'm like, Jesus, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm just not in the mood. I had a bad day before. I didn't eat well. There could be so many things going on with me and my mind. But if I go to the gym that day on Monday when I didn't feel like going, that area in the brain that doesn't like to do things, or I guess you can say that area in the brain that grows when you do the things that you didn't want to do, that becomes bigger. So then you start to do the harder things in life. Sometimes diet can be one of them. And I use diet very frugally or loosely because diet is one of those things where you think of, I have to be restricted. Yet you don't have to be restricted when you're trying to get your body back. This is I guess you can say, a lie, some misinformation, whatever you want to call it, that people believe. I have to limit myself in order for me to get to the life that I want. The limiting beliefs in our mind and in our life are everywhere, and we don't know that they're there. So we have to do a better job at making sure we get what we need and not what we think we need, or not what we can't attain because it's not for us. Setting the limits for ourselves for certain things or behaviors, because that can cause roadblocks. And those roadblocks can be some of the greatest challenges that we would ever have to climb. And here's the kicker. They don't have to be there. There are good things in our life that should be difficult. And then there's things that should not be difficult. You and your diet and your nutrition should be automatic. All right. Your health and your physical fitness should be automatic. These are things you should not be thinking about. You shouldn't be thinking about, what am I going to eat today? I guess I can go have McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King. I mean, we can go the easy route, right? And try to figure out all of these fast foods, but they end up making us slow. That slow is going to drain our energy. We're going to feel lethargic. We're not going to feel as powerful and as potent as we can in each of our days. We need to do something about this. Today, my guest, Sondra Rubin, she's going to be helping us understand and giving us so much information on what we should be doing, how we should be eating, and what is going to do for our life if we do that. So let's get into that interview with my guest, Sondra Rubin. Welcome, Sondra Rubin, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
Great.
Today, we're going to be talking about your work. You're an Ayurvedic practitioner, and it's going to be in the lines of a healer. And then you also are educating people on that practice. I actually had a practitioner of this very such method of healing. And let me tell you, that episode was amazing. So I'm so excited for this episode. In your own words, can you tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help?
As an Ayurvedic practitioner, I practice natural Indian medicine, which is a 5,000-year-old medicine using diet, lifestyle, herbs to help illness and disease. Basically, people who have either chronic illness, something like an autoimmune disease, people who are struggling with infertility, people who are struggling with basically just not knowing what's going on with the body and how to really heal it. not just stop the symptoms, basically heal it and stop the progression of their disease, is where people usually turn to Ayurvedic medicine. People who are done the Western medical route or who have tried different forms of natural healing. Personally, I have used this medicine to help me stop the progression of my autoimmune disease called lupus. And I've helped so many people as well. There's so many different autoimmune diseases out there, and they're renaming them and basically just finding them in this day and age where we have so many different stressors in life and toxins that we're exposed to in the environment and our food, that the list is going to keep on growing. Basically how we're able to clean the body and stop the progression of disease is, I feel like there's no other type of medicine out there that can really do what Ayurvedic medicine is able to do, as well as just being able to teach people the proper way to live, proper care for their body, proper diet for their body. It's a very individualized kind of medicine, and it's just an amazing science.
And when we look at this method of medicine, is it something that can heal a lot of common issues that many people are facing, whether it be gout, it could be like they have gluten allergies along with those things? Like, is it something that can keep people on the right track to better health?
Yeah, for sure. Allergies is actually very common where people are struggling on a daily basis and thinking that, they just need to take the over-the-counters, even like indigestion, all of these things. The body is telling you there is something going on. The immune system is either overreacting to something that it shouldn't be overreacting to, such as pollen. You shouldn't have this reaction of creating excess mucus or sneezing or any of these symptoms. The body is really giving you an indication that something is wrong. And so with Ayurvedic medicine, we're able to very easily correct that. We're able to stop that extra, mucus secretion. We're able to help them learn about the diet that they should be eating to stop the allergies. And so I've seen some amazing results with people with these very common ailments. It's important to also to note that, people shouldn't wait until you have this horrible chronic condition. When the body is giving you any kind of signs and symptoms that something is not right, that's when you should start seeking medical treatment, particularly in natural medicine, I would say, because that's when people probably feel more inclined to try something, or they're just going to keep on waiting until they have this horrible disease diagnosis. And by the time that happens, the disease has already progressed so much so that now it's indicated on these blood work or diagnostic testing. At that point, it just becomes a larger feat to battle. It's really important to try to manage your health, manage these conditions when they're really small, not when they're basically a giant war to battle.
Yeah, it's funny because I live in Austin area. In Austin, whenever you move to Texas, because we have so many seasons of allergies, we have like oak, cedar, and everyone's complaining every season, it seems like. And I'm just like, I'm fine. And I come from Connecticut, and we don't necessarily have that all the time. Like, I know some people might suffer in the springtime, but here it's like a common occurrence. Do you think like the pollen and these things could be so bad, or it could be that they just have a diet that is not going to be helping them overcome the seasonal issues that they're facing?
Yeah. You should not be, like you said, you're able to go into these environments and you're not suffering. If you have a strong digestive system, a strong immune system that is operating properly, should not be having allergies.
When we look at now, right, at our diet now, because we can look at some of the health foods. And what are health foods? I mean, health foods can be maybe berries and fruits and vegetables. Is there a certain type that we should be looking at, or is it going to be different for everybody because maybe vegetables operate different in some people?
According to Ayurvedic medicine, foods and fruits and vegetables, they all have very specific qualities. And so it's a qualities-based science. So we're looking at the very specific qualities of the food. And we're also looking at the body type. Depending on your body type will determine if you should or shouldn't eat certain fruits and vegetables. So it's not a one size fits all. It's not like salads are healthy. You should be eating salads for lunch every single day or dinner every single day. it's actually contraindicated from an Ayurvedic perspective to eat salads on a daily basis, which is completely unheard of from a Western medical perspective. People are like, oh, we should eat salads. They're healthy. But the actual quality of salads are cold and light and raw. People who have a very specific body type, maybe we consider them a Vata body type. People who are thin, who experience anxiety, stress, may tend to have dry, brittle hair. People who just tend to kind of get overwhelmed easily. Those body types actually shouldn't eat salads on a daily basis because it's just going to increase the anxiety in their body. It's going to increase the overwhelm, the inability to fall asleep. And a lot of the times, you tell someone like that who may be suffering, they're going to be like, oh, no way. I can't not eat salads every day. And sure enough, once I pull that out of their diet, they're starting to feel better. They're starting to feel more grounded and they're able to sleep. I'm not just saying salads, but that's just an example, of how I'm able to change their diet and say, this is, in particular, it's not good for your body type and your specific condition and symptoms. Each food and each type of food, we would say, is individualized for clients. Someone who has Pitta body type, that's the fire and water principle in the body that's responsible for digestion. Their body type might be a little bit more, I want to say, aggressive, argumentative, go-getters. Those people are highly ambitious. You'll see like the doctors, the lawyers, all of those really high, intense jobs. Those are the people that generally try to go for them. They're going to lean more towards indigestion, hyperacidity, high blood pressure, all of those kinds of diseases that disturb the blood. Specific fruits that they should be avoiding are things that could be a little bit more acidic, like the citrus fruits, oranges, lemons, limes, pineapple. All of those foods I would be pulling from their diet, even strawberries. And the last one would be kapha. So kapha is the earth and water principle in the body, and it's responsible for structure and stability. And those body types tend to be a little bit heavier, a little bit more easygoing type of personalities, but they tend towards laziness. But and they generally have a good immune system and a really good, strong digestion. But for them, some fruits and vegetables that they can actually have salads. They can have salads pretty regularly and raw vegetables pretty regularly, and they would be fine. I would be really aware of like the heavier foods like bananas and avocados or the unctuous kind of qualities. I might pull that from their diet if they're showing signs of a little bit too much excess kapha in their body, where maybe they are having the sneezing and the mucusy kind of symptoms, because that would just increase that quality in their body. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and beyond, because now I have a new question. We have all these body types, right? Like, are these body types like given to a person, like maybe by genes, like, mom and dad come together and they make this Vata baby? Or is it more of, our upbringing and who we become and we eventually fall into this body type? And if that's the case, can we change our body type?
Yeah. So we are born with this body type. Yes. Passed down from our parents. We consider that the Prakriti. That's your body type. What happens throughout life is that sometimes there is disturbances in our body type, which is called Vikruti. That's what happens when we are either exposed to certain stressors in life or exposed to certain diets that then disturb original body type and now becomes diseased or dysfunctional. Ideally, we want to continue to support our main body type. And so that is how we will be able to maintain our health. And no, we can't change it. It is who we are. The best thing that we could do is just continue to eat in a way that is mindful for our body type.
You know how like sometimes we might really like something like cake or ice cream, like it's so good, but it's not good for us, but it's good for the soul. So I guess that's good enough. We might have these foods, like pineapples might not be one of the foods you can eat because it just doesn't agree with your body type. Or as you said, bananas or avocados for the latter, right? Those fruits can be something that people enjoy. Like they're like, oh my God, I love these, but they're not necessarily good for me. Moderation might be key there, but is it something that they should be avoiding on a consistent basis, like one time a week or not at all?
So it just depends. If they are experiencing a symptom related to eating that food, I would say you should try to avoid that as much as possible. Sometimes, people, they love, right, that specific food and they can't avoid it. That's a little bit more challenging, right? That's the concept of knowing the difference between right and wrong, and you're still choosing to do the wrong thing. And that becomes a little bit more challenging to manage. So that's where I would say, okay, try to just reduce it as much as possible, using your own body as the gauge and understanding, even though it says on the paper, you shouldn't eat this. If you're not experiencing any symptoms, yes, go ahead and enjoy it in moderation, like you said. But if you do experience the symptoms, avoid it.
There's certain tribes and there's certain people who are crazy. And I say that with a light heart because there's a man who he handled snakes and venomous snakes to be at that. And he would keep getting bit by these snakes. And eventually he developed antibodies for all of these different types of venoms. One time he got bit really good by, this very venomous snake. And, luckily for him, his body just was so used to getting bit that he can come up with the antibodies. And when he went to the hospital, I think they had to use less vials of antibody or something, or antivenom. And it's just interesting how the body can adapt. And if we look at like certain tribes around the world, like in Africa, especially, they have like these venomous bees and things like that would sting them and it would cause all these welts and stuff. But they're just totally used to it. They'll get bit and they don't flinch. Nothing happens to their skin. But if I went over there, I'll be like bumps all over my body because I'm just not used to that. And I know there's certain people who they push through a food allergy. So let's say they're allergic to strawberries and maybe they get like bumps on their skin, but they just love strawberries. So they still do it. They'll take a Benadryl after, but after a year or two, they don't get the bumps anymore. Can the body adapt to saying, hey, this person is crazy? They are going against their food allergies. They're going against the body type, but they're able to overcome it. Is this something that happens, or is this something that we should be looking at? Hey, we got this allergy, we have this effect, this symptom. Let's not force our body to adjust.
Honestly, I feel like if you're able to work through it and you're not seeing a symptom, it is possible that you're able to overcome that. There may be other factors involved too. Maybe the digestion is a little bit stronger. There's different ways to look at it. Personally, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because I do feel like sometimes it may kind of transition into someplace else. It doesn't necessarily say, okay, the inflammation is not showing up on my skin, so now I don't have this food allergy to this particular food because I've worked it out. I just feel like it could be possible where it's kind of sitting somewhere else and waiting to kind of expose itself. And then you're going to say it's completely unrelated. If you're trying to see what's going on with the body, you might say, okay, well, I make sure I don't have this food allergy by having a little bit every day, but now I'm having an issue with my kidney. They might not necessarily think that it's related because their skin isn't flaring up anymore. I feel like sometimes that could happen with people because I know there's a couple of different techniques out there to try to get the body's immune response to be reduced by having that slow introduction to foods. But I'm still a little bit cautious. I would still be a little bit cautious with that approach.
They say too much of a good thing is bad. When we get all the foods that we're supposed to eat now, right? We're being good. We're not doing the things that are giving us symptoms. We're just eating the foods that resonate with our body. And especially here in the West, we have an issue of overeating. So we'll eat too much of the good thing. And this is not even talking about the cakes and ice cream anymore. I'm talking about like you can overeat your fruits. You can overeat salads because we love putting salad dressings on our salad too. So just depending on what type of body type you are, do you find that people will, even if they know all their good foods, will they tend to overeat, or will their body know like, hey, this is the food for me and it's the right fit once I get to the right level? Or do we have to give some consciousness to that?
Of course. You want to use the rule of thumb of eating till you're 80% full and then basically allowing the body to cook what we've just put in there and not boil over. So it's the same concept of like cooking rice in a pot, right? You put your rice in there, you put your water in, but you don't fill it all the way to the top, right? Because if you do, it's just going to boil over. So that's the same thing what happens in the body. So we have to basically train ourselves to say, okay, if we are not If we're full, you want to eat until you're satisfied, but not full, because then you're not leaving room for the cooking process to happen. And that boil over effect is basically undigested food creating toxins in the body. And that's where we'll start to see either, disease start to prop up, whether it's indigestion or other types of diseases. It doesn't just have to be indigestion or hyperacidity. I think that's a really good rule of thumb. And that's what I tell my clients as well, so that they have a gauge, because everyone eats different amounts of food. Just learning to listen to your body and eating until you're satisfied, not full.
What if someone was maybe trying to lose some weight, because they say that the stomach expands, and if it expands enough, think of it as a rubber band. A rubber band might be very small. And if you keep on expanding it and, like pulling, eventually it's going to be a little bit longer than it initially was. People are going to have a little bit more room, so that 80% might be more than what they truly need. Maybe their maintenance calories, let's call it that. And we call it something different if you would like. But that right there is going to be, well, we're at 80%. Our goal is to maybe thin down a little bit. Is that 80% rule going to cover all the bases, especially like if we're trying to live a healthy life, and then if we're trying to maintain or lose weight?
What I find with my clients who are trying to lose weight, learning how to reestablish their metabolism and help them with the digestive process. Basically, they have been able to lose weight without ever feeling hungry. And that's the beauty of Ayurvedic medicine. Once you start eating the right foods for your body, and you follow that rule of like 80%, making sure that they're taking Ayurvedic herbs to help restore their digestion and metabolism, they've been able to lose weight. I haven't had one client where her weight wouldn't move, and that was a very rare occasion, but it does happen. But most of my clients generally lose weight. They're eating more in tune with their body. And so it's just a natural thing that happens is they start to lose weight. And then once we're actually trying to lose weight, have had incredible success using Ayurvedic medicine and not, using any of these stimulants or being starved or going on juicing diets or all the typical stuff that Western medicine has kind of promoted. All of these chemical pharmaceuticals where we don't know the long-term side effects of these medications. It's just crazy what people are doing to lose weight. But meanwhile, the one thing that they aren't doing is really reestablishing the digestion and the metabolism. And Ayurvedic medicine is really able to do that for them very naturally and very easily.
When we look at the metabolism, especially, sometimes our metabolism slows down as we get older. We get less of the things we need. In the morning, we'll have a bagel, a muffin, a coffee, then we're off to work. For lunch, we'll have maybe some type of sandwich or something quick, right? Because we're just always on the go, right? We're very busy. And then typically for dinner will be our biggest meal. We'll have a sit-down meal and we get to relax, we get to indulge, and then we like to have dessert too. We have typically, or most people have, at least 3 meals a day. Would you recommend 3 meals a day, 5 meals a day, intermittent fasting? What is the method that works best for you with your clients?
Again, case by case basis. Some people, they do need to eat. They'll get hangry. They cannot skip a meal. Those people are not ideal for intermittent fasting. People who are eating on the go, that's really not ideal. That is something that should happen on occasion. And that's what I really try to educate my clients on, because it's like trying to multitask, right? Something is not going to be perfect, right? There's going to be, yes, you can get it both done, but it's not in an ideal situation because you could basically miss something or you can get something dirty. And that's what's happening when you multitask when you're eating. Like the body really needs to be in that rest state and focus on eating the food, digesting the food, and providing that nutrients to the body. And when we're put in a rushed state, it skips a step in that process, that digestive process. And that will enable illness to form because basically it turns into undigested food because it had to skip a step. It didn't get fully digested. And so what happens is that some of the body tissues aren't able to absorb that food entirely. And it turns into a waste product, which accumulates in the body and then eventually can lead to disease. It is really important to have that rest and digest part of your day. So if there's a day of the week that can happen, it's fine, but don't make that into like a regular occurrence. And yeah, so I know, especially American style, the evening meal tends to be the biggest. What I do like to encourage is people to try to eat protein in the morning because then the chances of you desiring an exorbitant amount of sweets reduces in the evening. Okay. So that's something that I would just try to throw that out there. Try to make something where you're having, even if it's nuts and seeds with your morning porridge, or even if it's eggs, something where obviously you're cooking it fresh and you're providing yourself with good nutrients in the morning, really helps to set the tone for the day. And trying not to eat, the processed foods on the go, especially in the morning. And then as far as like the evening meal, keeping that rule of 80% full, trying to keep that as, your guiding light. I feel like you could definitely impact your overall digestion and not putting too much on the digestive system for the late evening, trying to get into bed and not having that full stomach. You want to eat at least, 2 hours before bed to give yourself some time to digest the food.
What's your opinion on protein shakes? I know they're a huge popular item. You go to these big box stores, you go to anywhere, they're like at the front of the store. You need some Ensure, you need some Boost or whatever product they're called at your store facility. They're right there. And they're labeled as health foods or drinks or whatever. So they're like, oh, it must be healthy. And then so some are good, some are bad. But what's your opinion on protein shakes?
I'm not a huge fan. I do find that it is for people who are not able to really focus on their health because they're not able to prepare fresh food for themselves. So then they think that drinking these protein drinks are a way that they're becoming healthy, but in fact, they're not. A lot of the times I do see a correlation with these drinks, with certain kinds of skin conditions, with certain kind of kidney diseases. I can't say for sure, but I will say that that's the first thing that I pull out of my clients' diets if I notice that that's something that they're eating on a daily basis or drinking on a daily basis, because I've seen so much of a correlation that I just prefer to just not even have that as something that they are using on a daily basis that is a factor in maintaining their health. Not a huge fan.
And it's so interesting how things can get labeled as diet food or diet drinks, and it seems like that's the way to go. And then maybe someone was successful in doing that, because I'm not sure if you have heard of the craze this a couple of years ago now, or maybe 10 years ago, a decade ago, where people were doing all these juice cleanses. And not saying that juice is wrong, but people will do this cleanse, or they'll do a certain diet, or they'll have a certain type of food that worked for somebody. And then there's like, oh, I'll do it too. And it doesn't work for them. Do you think that the world that we're living in, diet and nutrition, there's a bunch of misinformation going around?
Oh, for sure. I had a client that came to me and he was with his wife for 20 years. She was juicing. He was on a vegetarian diet and he was juicing every day. And the wife was doing great. She's just like, she's vibrant, she's happy, she's healthy. And the husband is just miserable and he's bloated and he's got no energy. And I'm like, listen, this is not the right diet for you. Not everybody can juice. People who have very specific body types, that is the worst thing you could do to them, is have them do this bad, healthy juice diet. And some people know right away. They'll juice and they'll say, I feel horrible. I'm like completely weak and bloated. And there's nothing that this is doing for me besides making me worse. And it's because you shouldn't be doing it. I took him off of that juicing diet that she had him on for over 20 years. And he immediately started getting stronger, feeling amazing. And she's like, I've just never seen my husband like this in 20 years. Diet can play a huge part in how your overall health is. And sometimes it is just getting a little bit of guidance and having someone, basically just review that information with you so that you could start to see what a large impact it has on your overall health.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I love like working with a professional, an individual who knows what they're doing, knows what process is. Because if you just say, well, I'm going to go to Google. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to find some great information. For example, if we go to Sondra's website, it's going to be filled with great information. But when you digest that information, no pun intended, you are trying to figure out, hey, what do I need to do? And it could be very daunting. It could be confusing. How long do you keep it up? When you have someone there holding you accountable, seeing, okay, let's try this and it works. If it doesn't work, let's take a step back. That guiding process is so beneficial. And that's why I love coaching. That's why I love talking to educators, health practitioners, because it's powerful, not only because they help you get over the hump and the slump that you're in, but because they're going to be able to look at what's working, what's not, and say, hey, let's go this way versus, oh, let's try a bunch of things that we saw on the internet or heard from a friend. Yes, it could work. Oftentimes, it's just going to be something that creates that obstacle in your life. And then you're going to say, I tried to lose weight. I tried to, get rid of this ailment or these symptoms, and I feel so stuck. But you don't have to feel stuck. You can find someone who's going to help you along the way. And I believe Sondra is going to be a great person to speak with about your diet, nutrition, everything in between, because it's so important that you can get to a better diet, because that's going to lead to a better life. As we begin to wrap up, Sondra, I would love to get some final words and then for you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a true believer in Ayurvedic medicine. It's helped me. It's helped so many of my clients. I live and breathe Ayurvedic medicine for me and my family. And I've seen what impact it has on my community and my family's lives as well. And it is a beautiful science. It is not a harsh approach to managing your health. It's a very mild approach, a very common sense medicine. And as I described to you what's going on in your body from an Ayurvedic perspective, it makes sense. It just clicks. And that's what I've seen for my clients who were struggling with their health and didn't know where else to turn and felt like they were going to have to live like this, whether it's, constantly feeling tired or crappy or low energy or aches and pains, just thinking that this was the only way to manage their health through, getting injections daily or constant prescriptions, and seeing that there is another way to manage your health in a way that's very, very intuitive. And you could definitely find me on anuayurvedahealth.com, and that's ANUAYURVEDA health.com. And I offer a couple of books on there. And I offer some introductory, Ayurvedic medicine classes, and a little bit more advanced classes are coming out for Ayurvedic practitioners.
Okay, perfect. And I'll make it easy for everyone. The links are going to be in the description box below, because I know sometimes they're like, wait, what? And they have to rewind the podcast to, spell it all out. Don't worry. Just click the link. You'll get there. You can join one of her classes, check out her books. You're going to be in good hands. And that is what you want. To manage your health, to manage your life, to get back to the person that you should be, because then you're going to find yourself more exuberant, more abundant, and more fulfilled. I want to thank you so much, Sondra, for coming on, spending some time, and giving me all of this wonderful, informative information.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. I'd like to thank you so much for watching that interview of my guest, Sondra Rubin. As you can see, a wealth of information. And I wanted to make this one a kind of like a bunch of different tidbits and points, more so than a conversation, because when you have a, let's say a practice, let's use a life coaching practice, because I think that might be the easiest thing for me, because I'm not necessarily a, health practitioner. When in life coaching, I can easily talk about all the things that can make your life abundant and all the things that you should be doing. And I could talk about all the good things, right? But sometimes I need to talk about the bad things, because we need to have that yin and the yang. And if we don't have that good and the bad, how can we see the correlations or the differences? Here, when we compare it to the health, the foods that help us and the foods that are not helping us, that right there is the yin and the yang. We do have to have that balance, if you want to use that word, or harmony, whichever word you want to do. You figure out what works for you. For me, fortunately, I have never really been one to go to fast food places my whole life. I know sometimes my mom would take us to McDonald's when we were younger to get Happy Meals and stuff like that, maybe once or two times a week. Typically it was once. And we would go over to our grandma's house, where she always cooked home cooked meals. So we always had home cooked meals Sunday through Thursday, and sometimes on Saturdays. Fridays was always a pizza day. I don't know why. I don't know if this is Puerto Rican culture or whatever, but on Fridays we didn't cook, and on Fridays we got pizza. So it was a nice little thing to do every single Friday where you have a pizza party. Now, I don't necessarily have pizza that often. It could be that I'm in Texas. In Texas, we don't really have good pizza. I know some people are like, oh, we do have good pizza. You just are not going to the right places. Listen, I've been to those right places and the pizza is okay. If you want good pizza, you go to where I'm from, Connecticut, you're going to get great pizza. But this is a podcast talking about health, not trying to get you fat on pizza. I want you to realize that in order to get the energy, the body type, the mindset that you need, health and fitness are going to be an essential aspect that you have to begin to focus on. We can go to Google. We can listen and read all of the material that we need to read. But if you want to make true changes in your life, you need to have someone along the way guiding you, pushing you, showing you the processes, because the blind spots that we have, we might not necessarily know. People who are struggling with weight, you need to see someone. You need to talk to somebody. All right. It is not a hard thing. You have to figure out what works for you. And if you think, oh, I'm going to read an article that worked for them, that worked for their clients, what works for you is going to work for you. My mindset coaching, for example, it works for them. How I speak to people, it works for them. Some people, they need a sugary type of method where it's very loving and very caring and very affectionate. And some people need a kick in the butt. And it's very harsh. I guess you can say abrupt, but it works for them. And they understand it's coming from love. I can't use that same type of sharpness for the people who need that gentle aspect. Our body is the same. Our body might need something that's different than what we're giving it or what other people are telling us. We need to look at the bigger picture, the entirety of who you are, who you have become. And if you're going down a path and you feel like you have gone too far and there's no turning back, you're wrong. And I hate to put it that way, but you can change your life. If you are low energy, if you have failed to manage your health and your fitness, you can make a change today. But that change is going to be an investment on your end. And it might not be money as a priority. It could be time as that priority. It could be attention to detail as that priority. Sometimes we don't want to focus on the things that we might not truly want to show light on. That's why so many people, they toss things in the corner. They say, oh, I'll do this another day. I'll look in the mirror and I'll say that I'm just fine, when truly you want to change. I invite anyone who wants to change their life, who wants to make some big improvements on their family, on their career, on general lifestyle, every aspect and every corner of your life, you have to take action. And it doesn't even have to only be with your health and your fitness, getting your lifestyle, making sure your body's in rhythm and is not going to be suffering from any type of symptoms. It could be the mind also. What do you need to do to adjust? What do you need to do to get to the next level? Because many people, they plateau and they stop. And I'm telling you, if you plateau, to push through. And sometimes you need some help. Sometimes you need some guidance. And whether that be Sondra or us here at Reven Concepts, we would love to help you on that journey. It is so important that you realize that you have people that want to be your cheerleaders, that want to be in your corner, that want to see you win. It's something that you're not going to generally get just going out in the world. Well, I hope my friends support me. I hope my family supports me. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying that they won't. But you could be one of those individuals that need an outside support of a mentor, a coach, a guide, a healer, an educator, someone who's going to be there to hold you accountable and to make sure that all of your blind spots are covered. We want you to win at life. We want you to have the most exuberant and the most fulfilled, meaningful life that's possible. But it begins with you. It begins with you taking action. It begins with you realizing what you would like to change and then putting in the effort for that change to happen. It might not be an easy process, but when you do that thing, the thing that you didn't want to do, that area in your brain that I forgot the name of right now, gets bigger and you get stronger. Your life becomes more filled with the goodnesses that you want. And I want to see that for you. And I hope that you want to see it for you too. Like I said, the links are going to be in the description box below. Check them out. Learn more about how you can change your life today. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.